Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're doing well. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
And my name is Dyl, and today we have a lot to go over because it's time for our final Oscar predictions. But before we dive into that, please drop a comment. I want to hear what some of your bold takes are going to be because there's some no guts, no glory stuff that Matt and I are going to do. I would love to hear yours. Drop a like if you agree. Drop a dislike if you disagree because we're going to have some out there kind of weird picks. But if you want to join the discussion, join our Discord server. The link is in the description. We're always active. We won't be live streaming the Oscars, but we will be in there during the ceremony so we can talk to you about everything that's going on. But for what we have today, final Oscar predictions. And Matt, we mentioned this before, but there's so much that's still up in the air. It makes this year so interesting.
There's a lot that's still up in the air, and there's a lot that's more locked than we've seen it in a very long time. There are some strong, lockety-lock locks, like Best Picture. Best Picture is Everything Ever All at Once. It won the Critics' Choice Award, the Directors Guild Award, PGA, SAG, WGA. It has won everything that it needs and more to win Best Picture. The only things that it didn't get are BAFTA and the Golden Globe. Everything else it got. Everything Ever All at Once is winning Best Picture. If it were to lose, it would be the biggest surprise since La La Land, and even then, La La Land had a clear second place. We don't have a clear second place here. The other one that this would mirror if Everything Ever All at Once was to lose would be Brokeback Mountain. That was one that had everything it needed. It had just lost one or two awards, and everyone thought, okay, this is locked going into Oscar night. And then even through the show, it won Best Adapted Screenplay. It won Best Director. You've got Screenplay, Director, it's getting Picture, right? Nope, crash. We see Everything Ever All at Once win Best Original Screenplay, Best Director. Then we have to be looking out for what gets Best Adapted Screenplay, which is probably Women Talking, right? But if it's all quiet, that's when to start to worry that maybe that could snub the movie.
Yeah, that would be my follow-up question is if Everything Ever All at Once is head and shoulders above the rest, who is number two? Because for the most of the season, people are like, oh, it's The Fabelmans, it's Banshees. I would also agree with your last statement there. Right now, it's all quiet because if you look at the total package, it's the one that has a chance to make the best case. It could get adapted. It could get cinematography. It has international. And maybe if they really love it, they could give it sound or something like that, where it's like a very surprise type win. However, I'm not predicting that at all. And I think that Everything Everywhere has this in the bag. I would not give this my, I might give this my double points on Gold Derby. I'm not entirely for sure just because I have it at 13-2. That's better than what most people probably have it with because there's a lot of these categories where I'm not as confident where I have those bigger odds. So we have Everything Everywhere winning Best Picture, and guess what? We both have it winning Best Director as well. And all season long, we were like, oh, it's going to be Spielberg. I know I wasn't saying that. I know you weren't saying that after we got to a point. But a lot of people out there were saying, Spielberg has this. It's in the bag. Clean sweep. And clearly, it wasn't because someone else clean sweep every award, and that was the Daniels.
Well, do you remember all the people online saying, oh, the Daniels aren't even going to get nominated? Like, the Oscars just have something against directing teams. They don't nominate directing duos. And I remember everyone being, saying this. And yeah. I just kept thinking, and I kept seeing people posting it, what do you mean the Oscars don't like directing duos? When have the Oscars had the opportunity to nominate directing duos? The only time when they've snubbed a directing duo is Valerie Faris and Jonathan Dayton for Little Miss Sunshine. That's the only time when they've snubbed a directing duo. And that film wasn't about the direction. It was about the screenplay. So I had no idea what the hell people were talking about when they were like, oh, they won't nominate them because it's two of them.
Yeah.
That's not how it works. Even if Everything Ever All at Once were to fall at the finish line and lose Best Picture, they would still win Director.
Yeah, it's just like you said with Brokeback Mountain. It won everything. It just lost Picture. And I will admit, I was a little late on the Daniels director train. I didn't move them into my 5 until November, and they became my winner once Avatar premiered. So I made that switch there. But, yeah, I think this is another pretty easy, clean, and this may be the biggest above-the-line lock of the night. I don't know. It's on par with supporting actor, but we'll get there in a second.
I think it would be a major shock if anything else won here. One of the biggest shocks of the evening. Let's hit Best Actress. This one has a lot more contention going on, but Why don't you talk about what's going on here?
So we're down to a 2-horse race, which we've kind of been at all season, but it officially became that on nomination morning when Danielle Deadwyler did not make the cut here. So we have Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere and Cate Blanchett for Tar. Blanchett seemed to be winning the whole season. It won BAFTA, it won Critics' Choice, it won Globe Drama, but then we got to SAG, and Michelle Yeoh upset there. She then went on to take the Independent Spirit Award, so now it's a little closer of a mix, and if we already have Everything Everywhere winning director, we have it winning picture, we have it winning some other categories, on top of the fact that it swept SAG, it won the most awards in history, and voting opened right after that, so it's on this Everything Everywhere high. I think that she comes along with it. I know earlier in the season I was saying, like, hey, even if Blanchett wins everything, if Yeoh wins SAG, she has MBR, I'm going to go with her. And I feel like I should, but also it's just weird for me to predict Everything Everywhere and so much in the modern era because we just don't see that happen anymore. But stats are meant to be broken.
When have we had an opportunity to see that?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Stats are meant to be broken, and this is the year where I feel like a lot of stats would become broken.
I'm just going to prepare you guys right now. I'm predicting an Everything Everywhere basically sweep. And I went through yesterday to be like, okay, when was the last time we saw a film win as many awards as I think Everything Everywhere is going to win? And the answer is we have seen that type of sweep in recent years. We just haven't seen it for a Best Picture winner because Best Picture has been going to a lot of like smaller films, a lot of films that don't have the tech elements, that don't have all of that going on. So, yeah, I mean, the last time we saw a big sweep the way that I feel Everything Ever All at Once is going to do was Gravity in 2013, which won 7 awards. And the last time we saw it for a Best Picture winner was in 2008 for Slumdog Millionaire, which won 8. But again, like, it's not like just in the modern era we don't see sweeps. I was going through year after year, and there was tons of years where, even in the mid-2000s, the era of the sweep, even in the 90s, the era of the sweep, there's tons of years where the top winner only wins like 3 or 4 awards, right? This isn't like a new thing. And this is a rule that's always broken when there's a film that comes along that has enough passion, that has enough momentum. So yes, I'm also going Michelle Yeoh here. That said, yesterday there was something that kind of gave me pause on it, but I kind of rectified that by being like, okay, most of the ballots are already in at this point. But did you see what Michelle Yeoh posted on Instagram?
I did see, and I think the biggest takeaway from it is either her or her team, whoever posted it, realized like, hey, maybe this shouldn't have happened because it was posted and deleted within an hour. So
yeah,
I think that's the biggest takeaway from that. While yes, it was a little shaky because to me it kind of came off as the same thing everyone complained about with the To Leslie situation of vote me because this other nomination doesn't need it. But at the same time, they deleted it in a timely fashion, and it was the last day of voting, so I don't know how much of an impact it overall had, but it also is not a very, I think, good look, because if she does go on to win, you have to think, like, oh, did she win because she made this questionable post, or did she win just because people love this performance overall?
No, I if anything, that questionable post, I think, would make her less likely to win, because I think people would see, it's not great that you just posted an article and screenshotted a paragraph that says Cate Blanchett doesn't need another award. You know, I don't think that there's any bad blood between the two of them. They seem very friendly, but, and I don't think she really even thought through it. I think she was just like, oh, cool, look, an article that says here's why Michelle Yeoh should win, and didn't even think through the aspect of it that said, don't vote for Cate Blanchett. Right, that's the bad thing about this. And actually, it reminds me of in 2009, one of the producers of The Hurt Locker got his ticket to the ceremony revoked, and so he wasn't there to accept his award for Best Picture. But he got his ticket revoked because he, during the voting period, was emailing people and saying in his email, vote for the little movie. You don't need to support the billion-dollar movie Avatar. Vote for The Hurt Locker. And because he mentioned Avatar and said, don't vote for Avatar, don't support the billion-dollar movie, he got his ticket taken away. Obviously, they're not going to do the same thing for Michelle Yeoh, but it's a similar circumstance. And, you just shouldn't be posting things that demean the other people in the category.
Yeah. I think the overall article was very well written, very informative.
Yes.
It was overall about the racism that can go into voting and how many women of color have not won this award. So I think the overall part was great. I think it should have been posted. I just think maybe you take out that one paragraph because you don't need to include that. My guess was
that's the error in judgment.
My guess is maybe her or her manager, whoever posted it, because we don't know if it was her herself, didn't read it, and they just screenshotted each paragraph of the article and just posted the whole article. And that one paragraph maybe shouldn't have come along. You could have kept the other 9 or 8 slides, however many it was.
Yeah, I don't think so much didn't read it, but just more didn't think about the implications of the rules in posting that part. Because I think that she's well within her rights to post an article that says, here's why Michelle Yeoh should win. We need to have this trend of white women winning this award broken. That's a fine thing to post. But yeah, they really should not have posted that. That said, do I really think that's going to affect anything? No, it was posted in the last 2 hours of Oscar voting. Everyone had voted by that point. So it really doesn't matter. And I think Michelle Yeoh has the momentum to get in. That said, something I still see is even people who really love Everything Ever All at Once, a lot of them will still say, well, Cate Blanchett's still my favorite performance of the year. If Everything Ever All at Once truly sweeps, then this comes along with it. If it loses some of the vulnerable categories, then Cate Blanchett takes this.
I know if I was a voter, I would lean Blanchett in this category, but I think they would both be deserving. They both be great winners. Moving on to another category that is pretty much 50-50, you could say. Some people would say at least, is Best Actor. I know I'm not in that 50-50 camp, but I think that you still are?
No, I'm not 50-50. Okay. I'm 75-25.
Okay, yeah, I'm 80-20. So we're about the same, but I think we both have Austin Butler taking this award for Elvis over Brendan Fraser in The Whale.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have a long-running stat of the Best Actor winner coming from a Best Picture movie, and that's because passion matters here. It really matters about how much people like the movie, because it's clear people don't love The Whale as much as they love Elvis. Oh my god, they fucking love Elvis. So that's really what's going to push Austin Butler over the top. Also, just the fact that when people say that they love Elvis, they're not talking about the movie. They're talking about Austin Butler.
Yeah.
That's what you see over and over in these honest ballots. The honest ballots are useful, but not in the way that a lot of people think. The honest ballots don't tell you how many votes are going to people. What they do tell you is how people feel about these things, because that indicates a trend. Like with Anthony Hopkins a few years ago, the trend that we saw right there that indicated, hey, Anthony Hopkins is going to upset Chadwick Boseman, was we constantly saw people saying, well, Chadwick Boseman's probably going to win, but I guess I'm just going to vote for my favorite, Anthony Hopkins. That was the indicator. And the big trend I'm seeing in how people think with this category is they say Austin Butler was Elvis. Austin Butler was the entire movie. That's why I liked the movie. That's why it's high up in my Best Picture rank. And that's why I'm voting for it across the board.
And to add on top of that, I saw this tweet the other day. I was going to find it here. Oscar H on Twitter tweeted this out. If you want to look at the best picture, not best picture, but the best acting performances, there's at least been one real life person to win this award. Like, you're portraying a real life person. And that trend is pretty consistent. Since 2000, there's only been one time that it hasn't happened, and that was in 2016, because 2021 you have Smith and Chastain, 2020 you have Kaluuya, 19 Zellweger, 18 Malik, Coleman, Ali, and it goes on and on and on. So 1997, 2016, those only two times it's happened since then. And this year, the only person who can really fit that stat would be Austin Butler and Elvis, because Ana de Armas isn't going to win. Neither the Fabelmans people are going to win if you consider them portraying real life people. So
Lydia Tarr's a real person, right?
No. I've just had this feeling all season long, and I'm not going to give up on it right now.
It just has to be Austin Butler at this point. Also because I am going to pick Elvis in a lot of other categories, and I think that Elvis only wins those categories with the passion that Butler has. So Yeah, I'm sticking with Austin Butler here. That just feels good. We've been the same in every single category so far.
I think we switch in this next one. Maybe not. Supporting actress time.
I think we do switch in this one. I don't think we're going for the same person here. So I'm going to say right off the bat, there's 3 people that could win this award. We've got Angela Bassett, who is not my pick in this category, but Angela Bassett won the Golden Globe and the Critics' Choice Award. That said, the reason neither of us are predicting her right now is because it was when people said Angela Bassett's going to win the Oscar, the package that they were thinking that she would go into Oscar night with was Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, SAG. SAG seemed like it should be a surefire thing for Angela Bassett. And if SAG couldn't go for a Marvel movie, then I don't think the Oscars will either. Mm-hmm. Then the next 2, the top 2 right here, and we're going to be going for different people on this, Jamie Lee Curtis and Carrie Condon. I'm going Jamie Lee Curtis. I mean, for one thing, Everything Ever All at Once, I think, is going to sweep. It's coming off of the momentum of the SAG Awards, where Jamie Lee Curtis gave a fantastic speech where she hyped up everyone in the cast. She's become the face of this movie, which is really kind of interesting because this is such a great movie for representation of Asian actors. And yet Jamie Lee Curtis has become the face of the movie. She's become the biggest cheerleader. She is the reason why a lot of these older voters have given the movie a chance. And she has campaigned her ass off. She wants this. She is getting out there, pounding the concrete, going on the talk shows. She's pumping this movie up. And I think that if we see an Everything Ever All at Once sweep, she comes along with it because people love her. This is the biggest opportunity to give a career award that we see this year. I think people like her attitude. This is going to be an award where if she wins, people are going to look back in a few years and go, what the hell was that win? You had Stephanie Hsu in the same category. How the hell did you give it to Jamie Lee Curtis? And here's my other thing. You're going to get into the case for Carrie Condon. I can see the case on a technical level, on like a math level, why she should win statistically. I've seen the performance and I don't get it. I just don't. She's good in the movie. She's very good. But I just don't think that character does much in the movie. Like, she does a good job with a role that I just don't feel is substantial. That would be a performance that I would be even more confused about a win for in 5 years than I would for Jamie Lee Curtis. Because I just don't think Carrie Condon does a whole lot in Banshees. This is a controversial opinion, but I have to go with my gut here because Carrie Condon winning just doesn't make sense on the level of I just don't get what's special about that performance.
For the controversy here, at least I agree. It's my least favorite of the 5 here. But it seems like we're the only ones who think that because everyone else who I hear talk about this movie, they say she's their favorite part. However, Angela Bassett will not do the thing, and Jamie Lee may be all of us, but she's not taking this because Carrie, without the C, is going to win. And my case is what Matt mentioned, the stat. I know I mentioned stats don't matter this year, but they do sometimes because 2021, Ariana DeBose, West Side Story, its only win. In 2020, Yoon Young Jung for Minari, its only win. 2019, Laura Dern, Marriage Story, its only win. 2018, Regina King, If Beale Street Could Talk, its only win. 2017, Allison Janney, I, Tonya, its only win. 2016, Viola Davis, Fences, its only win. You see a trend here? And the only thing Banshees can really win at this moment, at least to me, is supporting actress. And I'm going to continue with this trend. The last time you have a winner that was not its film's only win was when this movie won Best Picture, 12 Years a Slave, Lupita Nyong'o. So we have a long trend.
But when was the last time? It was when it won Best Picture.
But outside of that, it's been solo wins, and Banshees is not winning picture, and I think this is the place you give Banshees the award. And I know voters don't think like this, but we see a trend happen, and when it's so consistent like this, I think it's something that has to be taken very serious, because you can look at some of the years before that as well. While they may not have been their film's only win, they were one of a few, like Anne Hathaway and Les Mis, Octavia Spencer in The Help, Melissa Leo in The Fighter, Monique in Precious, and it could go on and on and on. And this is a category where we very often see a film get its only source of recognition as a sort of quote-unquote constellation prize. And I just think that, yes, Jamie Lee makes so much sense for right now. The passion for Everything Everywhere could overtake it. I still think there's a good amount of voters out there who's like, Stephanie Sue's so much better than her. I'm still going to vote for her, even though I love this movie. And I don't know. And I feel like the career narrative as well works for Bassett and Curtis, so they kind of split between each other. I don't know. I think this is going to be the closest like final tally race of all the categories, and Condon and Curtis Bassett could all be at like 20 to 25% of the vote apiece.
I don't think that stat is causation. It's just a weird coincidence. Like, it doesn't seem like people are going down their ballot and being like, well, I guess I have to vote for someone from a movie that's not going to win anything else, right? Mm-hmm. That's not how voters work. It's a coincidence that that's happened. But let's look through all of those. They were sweepers. Those guys all had one thing in common. They were all doing a sweep of the season. Let's look last year. Ariana DeBose swept. 2020, Yoon Ye-jung, she was losing to Maria Bakalova for a little bit, and then she swept. Laura Dern swept. Regina King, everywhere she was nominated, she swept. But she missed a few places, like she was not nominated at BAFTA or SAG, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anywhere she was nominated, she won. Before that, 2017, Allison Janney swept. 2016, Viola Davis swept. We don't see that this season at all. This category is so fractured, right? So, I don't know, man. I think that the stronger stat to go with here is BAFTA not getting 1 out of 4 right, because the way I'm predicting it, they'd only get Austin Butler right.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't saying the reason Condon's winning is solely because of that. I was just saying, like, hey, this is another boost to support.
No,
that
for
on
sure.
Top of what you just mentioned there, the BAFTA, I would have it going 2 of 4, with Condon winning, with Butler winning. And that seems a lot more likely to me than SAG going 3 of 4 or BAFTA going 1 of 4.
I guess the thing that this year will really test is, does it really matter what award ceremony is last before voting? Because normally BAFTA's last. And I wonder if this year we're going to see BAFTA's stats slide a bit because, you know, they're not the last thing anymore. They're not the last word. Maybe SAG has more influence this year than BAFTA does.
So we go from 3 acting categories that were pretty difficult to the one that's very obvious, because for Best Supporting Actor, we have Everything Everywhere All at Once picking up another award with Ki-hee Kwan.
We said this last time when it was the BAFTAs. In our predictions, we were like, oh, this is easy. You can just wrap it up for Kwan, right? We can just wrap it up for Kwan. And then it wasn't that, and Barry Keoghan won. But that's not going to happen again. That's not going to happen again. Everything Everywhere All at Once is sweeping enough that it's not going to happen again.
And I think the point of that as well is, if you look at the BAFTA voter base, they did not really like this movie overall. They gave it nominations, but they didn't give it many wins. They gave Banshees some wins. Barry Keoghan's also a UK actor, so he's a little bit more notable over there than Ki-hee Kwan. And I think put both of those together, and that's how you got that upset over there. So I think that we should move into another category where it's Everything Everywhere versus Banshees, and that's Best Original Screenplay, where I think I finally turned the tide and put Everything Everywhere at my number 1.
Same here. I mean, it's sweeping so much, but that said, Banshees still has a big shot here. And like I said, I mean, this is the same with Michelle Yeoh. If Everything Everywhere All at Once is sweeping, it takes this. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't sweep, then Banshees gets it.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I still look back to the Get Out and 3 Billboards year, and I think this is very much correlating with it. And I would stay with Banshees to break that like cycle that we had that year. However, Everything Everywhere's just SAG sweep makes me think like Banshees is just it just is very much a more critics thing than a more general audience thing. And the Oscars are more general audience than they are critics. And I think this is where you award Everything Everywhere in another category because you love it so much, because it's Best Original Screenplay. Banshees is original with some of its themes, but Everything Everywhere is the definition of original, different, one of a kind. And to me, this category's been going to more of those type of movies here in the past. Promising Young Woman, Get Out, Parasite, and I think that continues here with Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, that was the reason early in the season why people were predicting Everything Ever to just, like, sweep the season for Best Original Screenplay. Is they were like, this is so original, it's so new, it's so fresh. And there was a point in time where people were predicting Everything Ever All at Once was just going to get an Original Screenplay nomination. And then when it became clear it was going to become a Best Picture thing, then people were saying, oh, well, it's going to win Best Original Screenplay as well. Because, like you said, it fits that trend of films winning this category. Exciting, new, fresh voices.
I just love how up in the air a lot of these categories are, especially above the line. Like outside of Kwan, picture and director, everything else you could make a case for 2 or 3 different things. And that carries over to Best Adapted Screenplay, where I think we're down to 2 with Women Talking and All Quiet on the Western Front. And as you mentioned before, if All Quiet is a potential Best Picture spoiler, obviously it takes this. But if it's not, Women Talking has this in the bag. It's won everything it needs to outside of BAFTA, where All Quiet won, but All Quiet won everything there. And I think that was just a BAFTA thing.
People were saying, watch out for Women Talking losing the USC Scripter. It won. Watch out for Women Talking losing the WGA. It won. It's won everything it needs. All Quiet wasn't nominated at all of those places. But that said, Women Talking is just so strong. The only hurdle that Women Talking has for a win is if people just don't watch it. That's the only thing. There's a lot of people who won't watch this movie, and do they have something to congregate behind? Because the men who won't watch this movie, they're either going to vote for All Quiet or Top Gun. But there's no clear choice between those two. I still think Women Talking has the edge. But maybe if there was only one, like, super bro-y movie here, if there was only one of All Quiet, one of Top Gun, then maybe, just maybe, Women Talking might fall here. But there's not, and those votes are going to split, and Women Talking will prevail.
I mean, I agree with everything you said there. Besides, I think the vote splitting, I don't think many people who are not going to vote for Women Talking to go Top Gun. I think that they're going to go All Quiet, and only All Quiet. If they were going Top Gun would have won PGA and would be stronger, would have got into director or maybe actor. However, I still think Women Talking has this. I think just that you see, yes, maybe not a lot of people watch, or not all the people watch it, but a lot of people still did because it got into picture. Yeah. It got in here to adapt it. That's kind of all it needed. It's this Triangle of Sadness package just without director. And it's in a category where it's a lot stronger than Triangle of Sadness was. And to me, I think it has this, not in the bag, but I'm very confident after those last 2 wins. And I still think the BAFTA thing was just BAFTA's being BAFTA, because BAFTA this year was insane, only giving awards to 3 movies essentially. So
yeah, man.
We'll see that with All Quiet going forward. I'm very low in All Quiet compared to a lot of other people, not in terms of its quality, but in terms of its Oscar potential.
But let's move on to Best Cinematography, where I feel like I've done quite a flip on this category.
Yeah.
Beforehand, we had All Quiet on the Western Front win the BAFTA. It won the British Society of Cinematographers. Both places, mind you, where Elvis was nominated and did lose. But we know that the Brits, they love their All Quiet. And that might not translate as much in America, where Elvis just won the American Society of Cinematographers. Now, All Quiet was not nominated there, but it beat Top Gun. It beat Top Gun, which was the presumed frontrunner, you know? So, I don't know, man. This one is one that I keep going back and forth on, because in my mind, I'm like, this should be All Quiet, right? This should be All Quiet. But I think I'm going Elvis.
I've been very off the rails of this category since Top Gun did not make the cut, because I said right away it's going to be Elvis. And ASC has never given the award to a movie not nominated at the Oscars. So to me, Top Gun was immediately taken off of the chance to win at ASC. So it was between Elvis, Bardo, and Empire of Light. Empire of Light and Bardo are both the same type of work, sort of. So that leaves Elvis, and Elvis is so flashy, it's so showy. We just did an Elvis revisiting episode where we go more into detail about Elvis's cinematography. But for the Oscars itself, Elvis just, I feel like, fits the mold for what this category would want to do. And as I just mentioned last category, I'm not as high as All Quiet for the Oscars performance. I do think that is more of a European, more of a BAFTA thing, and I don't think it's going to carry over. It carried over in terms of some nominations, but for wins, I'm not really seeing that. I could easily be wrong. I've been seeing the praises of Elvis' cinematography all season, and just like actor, I'm going to be stubborn and just stick with it, but I'm feeling a lot better about it now that it has won ASC.
I keep going back and forth on this. I don't know what to do in this category. I really don't, because All Quiet is the one that on paper should win. It should win on paper. It's stronger in Best Picture, right? Like it's second place in Best Picture. But at the same time, is there passion for it? if it's not winning cinematography, then I can't say it's number 2 in picture, can I?
That's the thing, though. As we mentioned a little bit earlier when we were having a discussion of like, oh, what is number 2 in picture? I think it will be a year like Nomadland where we figure out what number 2 is after the ceremony. No one was saying The Father was number 2 coming into the night, but it won adapted, it won Hopkins. It probably was number 2 in a various different technical categories, and I could see the case that Elvis is our second award getter in the night. And I'm not saying it would be number 2 in picture, but I would say it's a lot higher than where a lot of people are currently pegging it.
Man, this is so tricky to me. I think I'm gonna stick for Elvis for now, but I might switch back to All Quiet by the Weekend.
Let's move into a category I think was pretty locked up for the longest of time, but I think I'm now switching over to give this to another victory for Everything Everywhere All at Once and Best Editing.
So the reason why we didn't have Everything Everywhere for a long time, I know right away, I had been saying all season long that there could be an upset and that Everything Everywhere could win because the editing is so visible, it's so strong. I mean, your grandma was on the show last week, and she even pointed out the editing. Mm-hmm. Like, she was like, oh, you gotta get, like, editing is it's so good here. And for so long, the only reason we've been holding on to Top Gun was because it's gonna win sound, right? That's been the thing that we've held on to the entire time, is the correlation between sound and editing. But that said, that can die this year, because Everything Everywhere All at Once is the most visibly edited movie of the year, right? A lot of the time, we see the best sound go to a movie that has a lot of editing, that is, like Top Gun, very loud, very big, very flashy, but that movie has never been up against a Best Picture contender that is as flashy as Everything Ever All at Once. So that's really the argument here. Not just that, though. It won the Critics' Choice Award. It won the BAFTA, where it lost everything else, even when they couldn't give Everything Ever All at Once a single other award. It took editing, which shows that even people that don't absolutely love the film over the top, they still vote for it in editing. Overall, Everything Everywhere has kind of swept the season. And because it's so powerful, it's so big, and it has so much goddamn editing, it's got to take this, right?
I was still on the Maverick train even after BAFTA, but sitting with it a little bit longer, because I was like, oh, BAFTA, they just don't like Maverick because it's an American movie. It wasn't in their picture. It wasn't in the director. They're obviously a lot lower on it. But sitting with it longer, and especially with the surge that Everything Everywhere is having right now during voting, I think this is a category where it easily jumps from number 2 to number 1, because Maverick's a movie I can't see going home empty-handed, but when I think of Maverick, there's another thing I think of a little bit more before editing, where if you think of Everything Everywhere, the editing's like the first thing that jumps off the page to you.
It is, because you think about how they pulled that movie off. Not just was it the screenplay, it was also, you had to have an editor that could pull together like 8 different threads at all times and make sure that you could follow everything that was happening in every single one of these different threads of the story. That is an achievement. That is a massive achievement.
So I think that moves us over to Best Sound, where this is the category I do have Top Gun Maverick getting its solo victory, which feels weird for a movie of this scale that people were saying at least like a week ago is number 2 in picture. For it to fall this much to only get 2 because of the cinematography snub, it's losing editing, it's just taking sound. But also, I could see a world where if All Quiet is for real at the Oscars, it's just not a BAFTA thing. It takes sound, it takes cinematography, it's getting adapted, it's getting international. And in that case, yeah, you're number 2 for picture. You're maybe even number 1.
All Quiet could take sound, but I think that I gotta stick with Top Gun, because I just don't see a world where the Academy goes, hey, fuck that movie. Let's not give it anything.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think this is a very, not safe win, but it just feels right. Like, I wouldn't think too much about this. And on top of that, I think we should just hit a bunch of categories where we don't have to think too much about, because they're all pretty locked up, like Best Animated Feature, where Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio has swept the season.
I've even seen some Oscar ballots that have said, oh, if it was any other year, I would have voted for Puss in Boots, but it's not, and Pinocchio's here. Pinocchio won Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, PGA, Annie, and the editing prize. It's crazy. Pinocchio has a clean sweep of the season. Rightfully so. It is the best one, so I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. Next category we can talk about here is Best International Feature, which we can just say right now is locked up for All Quiet on the Western Front. Yes, it did lose the Critics' Choice. Yes, it did lose the Golden Globe, but it's in Best Picture. It's in Best Picture. It has to win here. If it lost here, that would be one of the biggest upsets of all time.
I saw a stat the other day that says a movie that has been nominated in International Feature and Best Picture has never lost an International Feature. So that alone means, hey, you got to go All Quiet. And hypothetically speaking, I don't even know who would be number 2 because I've seen people say, oh, it's Argentina 1985. But that movie just doesn't scream. People are putting that number 1. Close has the passion, but also has a lot of detractors. Quiet Girl
and it
has the
hasn't
passion,
won anything,
but is also very small. And EO, to me, just isn't a number 1 movie on a grander scale type place. So All Quiet easily has this. Even if it wasn't in picture and it had no other nominations, I would say it easily still wins this award. So that brings us to the last of these pretty easy ones, but not completely easy, I guess, for documentary, because Navalny makes the most sense, but Fire Love does have the stuff it needs to at least put up a fight.
We see a very clear 2-horse race here. I'm still going to stick with what we've been saying all season, that Navalny is really far and away the winner. But that said, Fire of Love has the Directors Guild Award, and it has the Eddie Award for documentary. We went through our stats a few weeks ago, and the ACE Eddie Award has, in the past 10 years, given 9 out of 10 correct choices. And this year they gave it to Fire of Love. So, yes, they have a 90% correlation. But that said, when I predicted that for the Eddie, when I said Fire of Love was going to win, I was thinking, like, they don't care about politics here. They just care about whether the movie's edited well, which Fire of Love is. Navalny is political. It is political. And again, going back to these honest Oscar ballots, there was one sentence that was said in one of those that I've been saying all season, which is someone said, I'm voting for Navalny. It's a great movie. It's entertaining. It's thrilling. I didn't know some of these things happened. Plus, this is a great opportunity to give the middle finger to Putin, which I've been saying all year long. Ever since we have been talking about Navalny, I said, if they do nominate it, it's going to win because it's a way to say, fuck you, Putin, right? So I think there's a lot of voters that are going to think like that are going to look at this and go, well, fuck Putin, right? Let's vote for this.
We both predicted Fire Love to take the ace just because, hey, it's a very well-edited movie, and that fits with them. Navalny has some flashy editing, especially in that phone call sequence, but the movie as a whole isn't. You don't think of it for its editing. So I still think, like you just said, it's Navalny for the political factor, as well as a lot of people say, hey, this is my top 10 movies of the year, let alone documentaries. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, where Fire Love is a very well-made documentary, there's just not that overwhelming passion for it. We just did a bunch of easy categories. Do you want to continue with some more easy ones, or do you want to go back to some really difficult ones?
Let's hit a couple more easy ones, because let's go visual effects, where Avatar, The Way of Water, is locked, and has been locked ever since the film was announced.
Ever since it was confirmed to actually come out, it's been the clear and away, head and shoulders number 1. I also think another really easy one here is best hair and makeup for Elvis.
Elvis is absolutely number 1 in hair and makeup. I've seen some people saying it's The Whale here, but The Whale has only won one thing in makeup all season long. Elvis also has Critics' Choice and BAFTA, and Austin Butler's winning Best Actor. Hell, even if Brendan Fraser were to upset and win Best Actor, The Whale would still not win makeup. I firmly believe that.
What Elvis has is the prosthetics on the face, it has the hair, and it has a lot of characters. It has extras, it has leads, it has supportings, while The Whale is just Brendan Fraser's character. So, to me, this is pretty easy. I would honestly say second place is still Black Panther, but overall, I think Elvis is going to win.
No, I would say that The Whale is second place because it's the only other film that has won a makeup prize. So The Whale is still second place. And what I would actually say is if makeup comes along and The Whale does win, then we're looking at a Brendan Fraser win.
So the last very easy category I think we have is Best Original Song, where I guess I could see the case for Hold My Hand or This Is a Life saying like, hey, if these movies are surging, and another category, they come along, but Not To for RRR seems like it has this in a bag. It's won the 2 only precursors for original song. And a stat that I heard from Next Best Picture was when a movie wins both, they have never lost the Oscar.
I think Not To is so beloved that it's going to win. It's such a feel-good song. And if anyone's heard the song, if they just hear the song, maybe they don't vote for it. If they watch the video, if they watch the movie, they vote for this. That said, I've seen some people saying This Is a Life is creeping up because since Everything Everywhere is so strong, maybe that song can come along with it. I doubt it. I really doubt it. I don't think that that's one that needs to come along. If someone's voting down the ballot, I still think that even the biggest Everything Ever All at Once stands, like me, would still go for Not To, because the same type of people that like Everything Everywhere would also like RRR.
So that brings us to original score, where it is the category I think Everything Everywhere would creep up in here in the music ones. But I don't know what to do because I don't want to not pick Babylon just because it's just that much, at least to me objectively, so much better than everything else here.
So this is a 4-horse race. The only film here that I don't think has a chance is The Banshees of Inisherin. But otherwise, Everything Ever All at Once, it has the passion of the movie behind it. And the thing that we see in this category so often is we see that the movie with the most passion wins here. And so since there's no sweeper here, and Babylon has lost over and over and over at places, it lost the BAFTA, it lost the Critics' Choice to Tar. It keeps losing. It's wild that this movie keeps losing because it seems like the clear frontrunner, but that said, it just doesn't seem to have the passion behind it as a movie. So I don't know, man. Like, maybe we're overthinking it and it really is just Babylon. But we have 3 other Best Picture nominees that have strong cases. Everything Everywhere has the most passion. The Fabelmans has a career narrative for John Williams. People saying, oh, maybe this is the last time we have to award him. So let's give it to him here. That's very possible. And then All Quiet on the Western Front has the BAFTA. So it could be any one of these 4. Right now, I'm with you, Dylan. I'm going Everything Ever All at Once.
And I would like to say people who put their stuff in the first day of Gold Derby have Everything Everywhere in this category for 100 to 1 odds. So if I end up finalizing this will be my second double points. But we haven't got to my main double points one. That's, I think, the last category that we'll go over today. So we move on from score, which I think is the biggest head scratcher of any category at this very moment. But we get into one where I know a lot of people are still up in the air with, but I think it's pretty secure, and that's Best Costume Design, as I have Elvis, but I know that you and a lot of other people are creeping up with the Everything Everywhere sweep.
No, I have Elvis too. This is one that I've gone back and forth on so much because Black Panther Wakanda Forever was able to beat Elvis at the Critics' Choice Awards. And the Critics' Choice Award has a great correlation with this. Where did Black Panther lose? It lost at the Guild to Everything Ever All at Once, which shows so much strength for that movie. But that said, if I'm predicting Elvis for makeup, for actor, for cinematography, I kind of have to predict it in costume design, right? So I'm going with that here. It has the BAFTA, it has the Costume Designers Guild, but Everything Ever All at Once could upset here with its Costume Designers Guild win. I also do think Black Panther still has a chance of an upset here.
It would be a weird solo win, at least to me, for Black Panther to win in costume design this year, because you're going against the Best Picture Serger of Everything Everywhere, and then you're going against Catherine Martin, who has this category pretty downlocked. And to me, I think both of those are a lot more drawn to for voters than Black Panther would be. Not to say Black Panther's not good work, but Wakanda Forever hasn't been soaring as high as the original Black Panther did back in 2018. So to me, I'm still rocking with Catherine Martin. Elvis win here. And the other category where Catherine Martin normally doubles up in, it doesn't look like she's going to do that this year with Best Production Design, where a lot of people are still rocking with Babylon. However, if Babylon's just dead overall, could we see Catherine Martin just end up winning both? But at the same time, the Oscars normally just go with their Hollywood recreations, and Babylon has that in droves.
Well, here's the thing, Dylan. Babylon, we've said this over and over at awards where we're like, is Babylon really going to win 2 here? And we always say, oh, it'll win score, but it'll lose production design. That was our argument for BAFTA. That's what we said at Critics' Choice. Like, we say this over and over. And Babylon keeps winning production design and losing score over and over.
Yeah.
It did that at the Critics' Choice Award, where both of us went, oh, it's going to be Avatar for production design and Babylon for score. Well, it was Babylon for production design and Tar for score. At BAFTA, we both split. I said Elvis, you said All Quiet for production design. It was just Babylon all along. But where did we both predict Babylon? Score. What lost score? Babylon. And All Quiet won instead. So I don't want to do the same mistake here. Babylon has swept the production design awards. It has swept those awards. I don't see an argument for anything else here, because even when people don't love the movie, they still go for the production design of it. And it's weird that that's happening, but it's not doing the same thing in score.
The one thing I would do to fight back is this is a category that rarely ever has a solo winner. Dune, Mank, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Black Panther, Shape of Water, La La Land, Mad Max, Grand Budapest Hotel, Great Gatsby, Lincoln, Hugo, and then you have to go all the way back to 2010 with Alice in Wonderland for a solo winner that didn't win in another category. Unless that won too. I can't remember. But since then, at least this movie takes another one, and that's why I'm still like, maybe Babylon gets score as well, so it's a pairing. And that's where I do see the slight chance for Catherine Martin just to win again, because she's won for Great Gatsby, she's won for Moulin Rouge. Both of those times she won 2 awards, and she's up for 2 here, so maybe she gets both. But as we mentioned, when you break stats, normally you are a sweeper. Babylon is a sweeper, so I am still going with Babylon. Now we get to the very fun categories, and this is where you get to make or break all of your little Oscar pools that you play, because sometimes people just go with what's number 1 on Gold Derby. Some people just go for what number 5 is on Gold Derby. Some people just go for the one with the coolest title. But we're here to tell you what is actually going to win all 3 of these awards, and I want to start off in a different order, because I think we should start off with documentary short, because we sung the praises of, not for the quality, but for the nomination for this when it was 15th place on Gold Derby on the short list, and it made it. And then I think we both have this winning documentary short, but at 100 to 1 odds, I have Stranger at the Gate.
I remember when we went through all the shortlisted shorts, and I didn't know what the odds were, and I was talking about all of the ones, and I was like, Stranger at the Gate is like number 3 for a nomination here. And you were like, really? That's 100 to 1 odds. And I'm like, what the fuck? That's getting nominated. That could win.
It was last place.
That could win this prize. It was last place at the time. And I called it for a nomination then. I don't want to say I was like, ooh, look at me, I called it for a nomination. Like, if you saw the movie, you would know it got nominated. Like, that's just what it was. You could see that coming if you watched the movie. I also have Stranger at the Gate. But what I want to say first is I've seen all of these short films in every category. That's actually not always a good thing, because it makes you very biased, and it can sometimes cloud your judgment and make you pick things that are maybe not the wisest choice. The front runner here, I believe, is The Elephant Whisperers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sticking with Stranger at the Gate because it's political. It is a biodoc. Right? The other biodocs in this category would just be this and The Martha Mitchell Effect, which both are profiles on a person. But let's talk about previous winners in this category. If you look backwards in time, they give this award to 2 types of movies. Political movies, like Stranger at the Gate, or biodocs, right? I actually went through all of the films all the way back. The last time a nature movie won, which The Elephant Whisperers is a nature movie. It's about an elephant conservatory where, they take care of elephants and raise them, and it's a beautifully shot film. But the last time a nature documentary won this category was in 1968.
A long, long, long time.
Ever since then, the prize every year goes to political films, or it goes to films that are specifically like The Queen of Basketball last year. Look at this person. It does that year after year. It's a profile on a person. Stranger at the Gate is both political and it's a profile on a person. It may be misguided, but people are going to feel good about watching it and going, oh yeah, we could solve racism if people were just nicer to each other.
So we go from a category where I think we're making, I don't know if it's a huge upset, but like it seems like most people are with Elephant Whisperers, but we go to a category where I think it's a 2-horse race to a 3, maybe 4-horse race in live action short, because you have Night Ride, which I think fits the same type of angle as Stranger at the Gate, but I don't see them doing 2 of them in one year, so to me that's number 4. Then you have the top 3 of Les Pupilles, The Red Suitcase, and An Irish Goodbye, which I think they all have strong cases. However, for better or for worse, for better for our predictions, but worse in terms of like how you're voting, they tend to go with the one that's in English, and the only one that's in English is An Irish Goodbye, and that's why it is my pick here.
The last time they didn't go for an English language film and live action short was like the mid 2000s, I think. They always go for the English short here. They like really do. But yeah, I think we have to go for the English language one. Plus, here's the thing. Voting for An Irish Goodbye is like voting for Banshees. It's Irish, dark humor, and it's going to coattail. It's going to coattail on the love for Banshees. Banshees could lose everything, and if An Irish Goodbye wins here, it still feels to me like a win for Banshees.
Yeah, I was going to say, imagine Banshees loses supporting actress, say it loses screenplay, and this is the win for Ireland, even though, hey, it's not the movie you thought was going to get the win. That brings us to our final category and our final short, which is animated. To me, it's a 50-50 type of shot here. Ice Merchants, I know, seems to be most people's favorite, but doesn't really have a shot to win. And that leaves My Year of Dicks and The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse, which my instinct is telling me to go The Boy, the Mole, but also I just see so much passion for My Year of Dicks. So I'm really split on this category.
I agree with you. I think it is a 50-50 two-horse race, but I don't think it's the two-horse race that you think it is. I think that this is actually between Ice Merchants and My Year of Dicks, and not The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. And the reason I say that is because if we look back at different years in this category, the last time when a movie as directed towards kids as The Boy, the Mole, and the Fox, and the Horse won was like 2016. Let's see the pattern here. Last year, Robin, cute animal movie, loses. 2020, Burrow, cute animal movie, loses. 2019, Kitbull, cute animal movie, loses. Then in 2018, there was no cute animal movie. Last time a cute animal movie won was 2016 with Piper, which was the one about the little birdie on the beach. And that was the last time that a cute animal movie won. Otherwise, they go for a movie that's from the perspective of adults. They go for a movie that's usually about childhood, but again, through the eyes of a parent. Over and over, we see that happening. If Anything Happens, I Love You, Hair Love, Bow, right? And that's why I'm going Ice Merchants. My Year of Dicks could win based on the title, but I'm going to be honest, I watched it again yesterday, and I really don't like this movie. I think it would be one of the worst winners ever in this category.
I think the funniest thing of that whole thing that you did, I remember all those shorts, hey, that showed in front of Finding Dory, that showed in front of Angry Birds 2 or whatever, and I was like, wow, funny enough how that works. But I just don't know what to do here, because I do agree, looking online, that the passion seems to be with Ice Merchants. I just don't know if it's that Academy passion or is that film Twitter passion. My Year of Dicks has both. It seems like it has the buzz of hey, it's got the title that is very fun, but also there's a lot of people online who do love this movie. And The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse has won the awards it needs to win, and it has a celebrity cast. It's coming from a studio that's very much pushing it, but it is solely geared to kids, and there's some people out there who really don't like that movie because of how much it's geared to kids. So I see the angle for all three.
I'd say if you're between My Year of Dicks and The Boy, the Mole, go with My Year of Dicks.
Yeah, that's where I'm leaning to at the moment. The Boy, the Mole would be the longest winner in history. So I guess I'm going to lean My Year of Dicks. But as you mentioned before in cinematography, it's something that I'm probably going to change all the way up until Sunday. So definitely check out the Discord, because I'll post my final prediction there.
Yeah, be open to Ice Merchants, because that movie does have the passion. It's really... Have you seen Ice Merchants yet?
I have not.
Ooh, watch it, and then... But this is also the mistake that's made in these short categories so often, and that's why a lot of the time I suffer in these categories, is I pick with bias, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe it's best not to pick with bias, but to me, Ice Merchants is such a beautiful film. It feels undeniable for the win here.
The last thing I want to do before we wrap up here is say where our double points are going on Gold Derby. Because I think that's fun. It helps our game. And then when we see, hey, how do we do? We could have, both 20 out of 23. But our points is where we differ. So my double points are going to Stranger in the Gate and Everything Everywhere and Score at both 100-1 odds.
I'm probably going to do the exact same thing as you on that. Stranger at the Gate and Everything Ever All at Once and Score.
Interesting. Well, that should make this fun. It'll come down to our supporting actress and some stuff like that where we differ a little bit. But for everyone out there, definitely let us know what some of your bold takes are. Do you have Everything Everywhere winning 6, 7 Oscars? Do you have All Quiet upsetting in Picture? Or do you have My Year of Dicks or something like that taking some of these shorts categories? But I would love to hear. But until next time, my name is Dyl.
And my name is Matt, and this is Fantasy Filmball.